The resident masters of the moon do not want visits from us Earthlings, it appears. Look at this. There's something blocking the entrance into that crater. And of course, it's not us Earthlings who put it there. That is an artifact that is very strange indeed. I've never seen that image, but it's a NASA image of the moon. And we're going to see a lot of images from NASA indicating what they have found on the moon, and also some Chinese images. Now, does an ordinary mortal know the results of the Apollo program? We never found out why billions of dollars were spent to set foot on the moon. 12 people. Did NASA ever explain the reasons for prematurely interrupting the manned flights from Earth to the moon? What happened? Why did they just stop all of a sudden? The answers to these questions are no. The only thing for sure is that the agency does not treat the moon so friendly. They don't think they should be going back. But why is that? The unexplained and with dubious results of the what happened was they decided to do an experiment on the moon, and they wanted to bomb the crater of the moon, the surface of the moon, and they created a crater on there October 9th, 2009, and it had its official excuse that was to search for water on the moon. The 2.3-ton propeller rocket Centaur hit the dark crater Campius. It's near the south pole of the moon at 2:31 in the afternoon, and 4 minutes later, the LCROSS, Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, LCROSS for short. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. So the LCROSS for short crashed, which had recorded the first collision with cameras and then sent back the data as to what took place. Now, the landlords or the masters or the residents of the moon do not want visits from us Earthlings, and they're making this evident. The collision in the crater, with a diameter of 100 kilometers and a depth of about 4 kilometers, took place at a speed of 9,000 kilometers per hour. The glow it would cause would last 30 seconds, and the column of dust that would emerge would reach a height of 10,000 meters. Failure. Officials at the Ames Research Center in Moffett Field, California said they did not see the large column they wanted. Shots from the collision were never there, and as you'll see in the video, and were recorded only spectroscopically. And that, as we said, the experiment happened October 9th, 2009. Now, conspiracy theorists seized the opportunity to accuse the U.S. government of doing this to the lunar surface. The complaint was not entirely unfounded. From 1958, there was the top secret project A119, the plan to impact the moon in this way in an effort to restore the morale of the Americans who lost the space race to the Soviets. This was 1958, as we said. Remember, in October of 1957, Sputnik was set up as the first satellite around Earth orbit, and that was, of course, done by the Soviet Union, Russia today. And that's why they had to do something towards the moon to get some kind of evidence of their experiments, NASA, that is. Now, moon to landlords, do not visit, do not want visits. The moon landlords do not want visits from us Earthlings. The plan was canceled when Neil Armstrong was the first to land on the moon, but it was not abandoned. A few months after the pioneering mission of Apollo 11, the scientist of the program, Gary Latham, again proposed the impact of the moon with nuclear weapons, this time for reasons of geological research. They wanted to find out what the moon consisted of, obviously, and if it had water. The proposal was rejected on the grounds that the spread of radiation in low gravity conditions could not be predicted. Back now to 2009. The catastrophic failure of the Centaur and LCROSS missions alarmed many, who spoke of a contingent mission that could cost huge sums at the time when NASA's budget had been cut dramatically. Many asked what the significance of the project was, but it did not get an answer, as the question was not answered whether the two ships deliberately fell to the surface or they were perhaps brought down in some way. Now, the landlords of the moon do not want us Earthlings to visit. So who could have done this? The lunar inhabitants, that is. Here are the scenarios that have never been officially refuted. In 1976, Otto Bind, a former NASA official, accused the agency of censoring its conversations with Apollo astronauts. He claimed to have heard one of the Apollo 11 astronauts say that he saw huge alien spaceships on the surface of the moon, right in the middle of the area that had been selected for landing. And we know that Tompkins also did this. He even had, he said that the astronauts saw that there were lunar spaceships at the crater, the rim of the crater, looking at what the astronauts were doing, etc. Now, in 1978, another former NASA official, Maurice Chatelain, who then had a high-level security license as he invested most of the communications and radar systems of the Apollo missions, he invented most of them, published a book claiming that 2 UFOs were flying over the moon. Eagle, before the famous first steps of Neil Armstrong. A few years ago, the second man to land on the moon, Buzz Aldrin, publicly admitted that on the flight to the moon they had spectators, quote unquote. Now, the landlords of the moon do not want Earthlings to visit again. So does the moon have, is it possible that there are entities living on the moon? And who are they? And what are their purposes towards us Earthlings and our Earth? In his book, Maurice Chatelain writes that the astronauts informed the center that there were extraterrestrial spacecraft lined up on the far side of a nearby crater and that they were watching Armstrong's historical descent to the moon. He argues that aliens do not exist, but were actively involved in the creation and destruction of civilizations. This, after all, was the title of his book, quote, Our Worldly Ancestors, end quote. The possible presence of extraterrestrial aliens on the moon was recorded much earlier. On September 11, 1967, Canadian astronomers reported a black cloud with purple edges over the same area that NASA had chosen to land Apollo 11 in 1969. Okay? Canadian astronomers, a black cloud with purple edges. 2 years earlier, in 1965, NASA had launched Operation Moonblink with the intent to collect data from all of Earth's large observatories on a large number of luminous bodies seen flying above the moon's surface and to investigate massive structures photographed by its unnamed satellites. Some of them looked artificial. What could these massive structures and ruins and artifacts be? Now, the moon's landlords, again, we say, do not want visitors. Since 1953, the New York Herald Tribune scientific reporter said he had seen with a telescope a huge 12-mile structure, most likely a bridge, at the edge of Mare Crisium crater. The British astronomer H.P. Wilkins and the host of The Sky at Night, Sir Patrick Moore, revealed that this bridge had appeared from nowhere! Exclamation point. The moon, landlords do not want to visit. But the Orbiter 3 satellites also recorded in the Eureka area on the surface of the moon a large vertical structure called the Shard, a fragment, and a huge tower called the Tower. And according to some astronomers, it's over 1 mile wide and 5 miles high. The images from the relevant video had been recorded by crews of Apollo missions. The belief that the moon is inhabited has been widespread for centuries. The findings of the first astronomers with instruments that today are not even considered childish were impressive, and we list them in chronological order. In 1671, the famous French astronomer Jean Cassini announced that he saw a white cloud covering the surface of the moon. In 1787, two astronomers reported that they observed lightning above the surface of the moon and believed that the moon has an atmosphere. In 1787 again, a month earlier, pioneering astronomer Sir Frederick William Herschel, who discovered the planet Uranus, reported observing various bright lights of balls of light on the surface of the moon. In February 1877, for at least an hour, astronomers observed a huge wand of white light that had appeared on the moon. In 1882, dark shadows were reported in the area of Aristotle. April 23, 1915, a ray of light suddenly appeared inside the Clavius crater. Dozens of rays of light have also been observed in the Plato crater. September 13, 1959, a huge black dark mass prevented astronomers from photographing a specific point on the moon's surface. The moon's landlords refuse to have visitors. In a documentary recently aired on RTR of Russia, Planeta, one of Russia's main television channels, analysts such as former Russian Navy officer and famous UFO researcher Arsen Yevgeny, and that American astronauts came in contact with extraterrestrial civilizations who ordered them not to visit the moon again. The landlords of the moon do not want us to visit them. So, were the Centaur and the LCROSS really shot down because the Earthlings disobeyed the order? Or were these two ships actually loaded with something that should not have been coming to the moon to destroy an extraterrestrial base on Earth's satellite? And if so, did they achieve their goal or not? This is another great mystery that covers the otherwise romantic moon. This I've translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support.